now with AI, we are able to do even more, right? And which means, I can very quickly extract knowledge out. I can forward engineer. I can analyze the data. I can help them do migration. So this in a way will help accelerate the modernization projects. But then the footprint of a lot of these applications is very high. So it will take several years. I don't think it will happen in 6 months or a year or so. So it will take at least few years for us to modernize these large legacy applications, because some of them could be having as much as 100 million lines of code.
Hi, wherever you're watching this, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Tech Conversations, where we bring you insights from tech entrepreneurs, CXOs, and investors. I'm Hari Arakli, and in this episode, Mohammed Rafee Tarafdar, Chief Technology Officer at Infosys, talks about what generative AI might mean for the future of the IT services industry. Rafee, who's also a Senior Vice President and the head of the Strategic Technology Group at Infosys, explains how becoming an AI-first company, back-to-back with adapting to the cloud-first transformation in the industry, is changing the organization from within, even as it helps customers implement and benefit from generative AI applications. In the industry, of course, your work is very well known, Rafee. You've written books, technical ones as well. For a more general audience, you could give us a quick snapshot of your work. And this is your 20th year with Infosys, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was interesting for me to read about in your bio how you had sort of you divided it into 3 phases. Okay. And you're now in the 3rd phase, which involves a lot more of sort of big picture strategy. And you also, from a tech perspective, you run the strategic technology group within Infosys. So give us a quick overview of that and we'll go from there.
Sure. So, with Infosys now more than 19 years, so I think around 20th year is what you could say.
Right.
And in my current role, I have 4 broad focus areas. The first is the tech strategy for the company. What are some of the technology big bets that we as a company invest and focus on? Second is on a lot of strategic programs that we run for our clients. So in some of the programs, I provide an oversight role. Third for us is in building a lot of IP platforms, assets. And also we have a philosophy that everything we tell our clients, we need to do it to ourselves. So in that way, we've been applying to ourselves the digital transformation, cloud, data, and now AI. And fourth is to increase the tech talent density within the company, right? Because our clients are now becoming technology companies. So we need a very different technology skill set and capabilities. And that's what I focus on. And like you said, it's been a good journey over the 3 phases. So it's been interesting and exciting and good.
Okay. So today we are also, of course, meeting in the context of this whole accelerated sort of adoption of at least some parts of AI, in particular generative AI. And I understand that recently you've also come out with a report. You've spoken about like the top imperatives in AI for your customers and enterprises in general. So let's get into that a bit. Give us a sense of what you are looking to find out when you all started doing this survey. And maybe you can walk us through some of the most important findings.
Sure. So there are, one, if you look at it in the last 2 years, we've been working on transforming Infosys to become AI first. And as part of it, we said we will reimagine the way we deliver work to our clients, which means how do we embed AI into all our services, all our offerings, and the work we do for them. Second is how do we embed AI into our workspace, which could be, can I use AI for energy generation prediction, for energy management, water management, and autonomous tech and all. And third is, can we also transform our workforce to become AI first? And for this, we are running a program to make everybody at Infosys AI aware, and then AI Builders Masters. So a lot of learnings came out from our own journey to become AI first. And in parallel, along with our Infosys Knowledge Institute, we did a set of surveys on generative AI, and we did it across three regions. We did it for US, we did it for Europe, and then for Asia Pacific. Now, what I'll do is I'll summarize what we're finding from our journey, what we're finding from our clients, so that you get a sense on both the sides. And the interesting thing is there is a lot of commonality. First is, see, today if you look at it, there is a lot of talk about bigger models, better models. Everybody is creating billion parameters and all that. And if you look at it now, every week there is a newer or better model that is coming up, right? So these could be in text, these could be in speech, they could be in video, images, or others. And now we are finding multimodal, which are coming together. So one of the first learning we had is these models are perishable, in the sense, the models will keep changing and you will keep finding better models. But if you look at it in a business context, what is important is the organizational data and knowledge. So I should be able to use the best fit model, but be able to tune it with my organizational data and knowledge, because only then I will be able to drive higher value, right? And that was, one of the first learnings, which is why if you look at it, we said we'll not build pre-trained model grounds up, because there are enough models out there. But what we will do is we'll still create fine-tuned models which are very specialized, and these are almost like our IP, which are being tuned for specific purposes and tasks. So if I take a simple example, I have one specialized model that has been fully trained on one of the existing Finacle code, right? And what it can do is it can generate code which follows the style and semantics of Finacle. Now the effectiveness of this is almost 80%. The code acceptance rate is 55%, which means, we are finding a lot of value. The second learning, if I may, is that, we are finding there is a lot of talk on hallucinations. Everybody keeps talking about these models are hallucinating and all that. And what we realized is a lot of data that is ingested into these models themselves have a lot of hallucinations, right? Because, if you ask the same question to 10 different individuals, very rarely would you get the exact same answer unless it's a fact that everybody knows, right? So we said hallucinations are actually features of these large language models. These are not bugs, but there are techniques that can be used to minimize it. So the focus has to be on how do I minimize hallucination so that the value from these models to serve the knowledge tasks or any other tasks are done in a much more effective manner, right? Now, the third thing what we realized is while there is a race for generalized models, we found that for enterprise context, specialized models are of higher value. Because see, in enterprise context, you have a limited business environment, you have a fixed set of processes, you have an organizational knowledge. So what we have done is we have built a narrow transformer approach, which essentially is used to take an open source model as a base and then use the organizational data and knowledge to very quickly fine tune it for their specific purpose, right? And in this case, what we have found is I can do this in about 1 to 4 weeks and I can do it at a fraction of a cost. So, it becomes very, very useful, right? So I'll take an example with one of our clients for wealth advisors. They had about 100,000 different products across different documents. Now, if a wealth advisor has to recommend the best product to a customer, you can imagine they can't really remember everything which is there in those 100,000 documents. Now, we were able to very quickly bring a lot of this knowledge and make it available to the wealth advisor in a way that they could provide very specialized advice based on the need of the customer, right? And this reduced the time they spend. This also increased the customer experience. Same thing we are finding in ratings, for example, right? So when mortgage loans have to be rated every year, you could actually crunch the time that it takes to review and rate, right? So specialized models is what we are finding value. I'll now talk about two hindrances that we are finding, right? So one, and this came in almost all the surveys we did with our customers, is data readiness for AI is a big challenge. Because a lot of them are concerned that today, do they have high quality data or usable data that can be used to train the models? Because if it is garbage in, you get garbage out, right? And there is a lot more focus on saying, how do we solve this problem? So what we have done at Infosys is we have created a responsible data management framework which can be used to prepare data and knowledge for these organizations. The next hindrance we have found is, if you look at it, every country today is almost racing to create an AI regulation. And there is, EU has come up with this EU AI Act. In US, you have the executive order from Biden. Every state has their own thing. So every country is building their own AI Act. So they are also concerned that how do we build AI in a responsible manner, so that they are not only compliant, but they can also ensure that they can do it in a safe way, in an ethical way, with fairness, with inclusivity and all that. And again, here for this, we created an approach we called responsible by design, so that it is not an afterthought, right? And for this, at Infosys itself, we had to go through a lot of changes because, we had to strengthen our own practices to be responsible by design. So hopefully, I'm not covering all 10, but this gives you a sense of few distinctive opportunities and few of the hindrances.
Can you briefly explain what narrow transformer means? And the question I had was, if you can pull all these different points together and give us a sense of what that means in terms of Infosys's AI strategy, or rather generative AI strategy. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So see, narrow transformer, if you look at the entire large language models, has been driven based on a paper that was published, right? Attention is all you need. And the architecture that the models use is called transformer architecture. So if you look at most of the generalized models, they are trained on a significant amount of data already, right? Which means they are pre-trained with a lot of knowledge, pre-trained for coding tasks, a lot of these. So the idea with narrow transformer is to say, can I build on the knowledge that is already built within these models and make it specific to a certain task? Now this task could be that, it could be a coding task, it could be a testing task, it could be a knowledge task, it could be a process or operations task, right? So the idea is, can I use a fraction of data from my existing repository based on the purpose for which I want to do it? I want to apply this, and then train the model with this data and make sure that it is more effective for a task. So I'll take the example I talked about Finacle earlier. So if you look at Finacle code, a lot of it, for example, some of it is written in C++. Now, what we said is we took about 5 million lines of code and then we used that for training one of the existing open source models. Now, with this fine tuning, we were able to embed the knowledge of Finacle application into the model, right? So we have in a way made it more specialized and narrower in focus. Now, when we use this for activities like code completion, code extension within Finacle, because it understands the Finacle code, it is able to generate code which is a lot more specific to Finacle, right? So I've taken a general model, code model, made it very specialized for Finacle, and that is what I'm using. So that's what we mean in a way by the narrow transformer approach, which is this whole approach of using organization data knowledge to fine-tune general models which are open source in nature and make them very specialized and specific for a task or an operation. Yeah. Now, the other question you asked is about this whole, what does all of this mean for Infosys and all that?
So how does that come together as an Infosys
Correct.
AI strategy?
So from an Infosys AI strategy, one thing we said is we will use this to reimagine our workplace and workforce. But then we have three broad objectives. First objective for us is AI has the potential to displace as well as amplify, but we said we'll use AI to amplify the human potential. And if you look at it, it also ties with our purpose as a company. The second objective we said is we will use AI to unlock the value, and I'll come to each of these. And the third is to create exponential impact. So let me come to the first goal. The first goal is amplifying human potential. For this, what we have done is we have created AI assistants based on personas. And what we are doing is we are making these AI assistants available to all our employees. Now, this again uses a combination of what is available out there, which means a commercial offering from any of our partners or customers, as well as custom built AI solutions that we have built internally based on the fine-tuned models. So for developers, what we have done is we have given them a code assistant that they can use in order to drive productivity in their engineering efforts, which could be for coding, testing, translating, documenting the code, refactoring the code, and all that. Then we have provided a personalized learning assistant to everyone. And the goal of the personalized learning assistant is to help identify the learning opportunities and to also act as a personal coach. The third thing we did is for our sales people and client facing people, we have created a sales assistant that brings all the collective knowledge of Infosys and makes them available. So for example, if I have to find, which is the largest cloud transformation program we have done at Infosys, so it can bring all that information and make it available to them. Then we are building similar assistants for our operations team. We are building it for our leaders and all that. So today we have got about 35,000 users who are using one or more of these AI assistants in production, right? So the goal is eventually to have a lot of these available to all the different users across functions. Now, the second objective I said is unlock value. Unlocking values, if you look at it over the last 4 decades, we have built a lot of expertise and knowledge about the different industries, about different businesses, about different IT landscapes. And we have actually curated a lot of that knowledge. So what we are now doing is we have created a digital brain which makes all of this information available to our employees to perform whatever task that they are doing with lot of speed. So the idea is to make them less busy and more productive so that they can spend more time focusing on the value for our customers, right? The second thing is we also, because this is very integral to us, we have automated the entire AI development process, development, testing, rollout process. And for this, we built our own platform. We call it as an applied AI platform that drives the velocity and automation that is required to do this. And then the third is we are building a number of specialized models which are very specific to either a horizontal task or an industry specific task, right? Which we are then using it in internal purpose as well as external. The third objective I said is exponential impact. And for this, we are doing 2 things. One is now, how do we use all of these in every single client project that we are doing for our customers? See, because today AI is no longer an aspirational thing, right? Almost every one of our customer is saying, how are you going to bring it into my operations? How will you bring it in transformation? How will you bring it in innovation? So for that, we have done 2 things. One, we have evolved our digital operating model to become more, to embed the elements of AI into it, right? Which means, how do you design experience for AI first? How do you engineer AI first products? How do you have the right insights and analytics that are required to make the processes meaningful and all that? The second is the talent that is required for all of these, which is where we are doing this transformation as AI aware AI builder and AI master. Now, collectively, all of these come together in the form of a branded offering that we have launched to our customers called Topaz. So if you look at Topaz, Topaz has these knowledge assets, which is all the playbooks from our experience. It has these IP platforms that we have built as well as our partner ones. The third is we have now partnered with a lot of AI first companies as well as with the leading hyperscalers in order to bring more AI capabilities into our offering and the talent. So all these four is what now comes together for our clients through Topaz. And that's how we are driving the AI first transformation journey for our clients.
Okay. Two, three different questions are jumping up
Sure.
in my head. The first one is there a simple way to illustrate when you said by providing employees an AI assistant of their own based on individual personas, you want to free them up to be more creative, more productive,
Yeah.
automate the mundane work. Can you give us an example of in practice?
Sure.
How does that work?
Yeah. So see, what earlier used to happen is, let's say if a sales guy goes and meets our client, and the client says, okay, look, I want to understand what work have you done, for example, in ERP consolidation. Can you tell me, what is the approach, what is the right strategy for consolidating ERP? Now our sales colleague would then have to go and reach out to our experts, and then they have to talk to multiple people to get the information, and then pull all of it together and then give it to clients. Now this is a time consuming process because you operate across time zones. The experts could be in different places, and then you need to bring all of this together. Now with this knowledge assistant, so let's say if I have to frame a simple document, what we have done is we have created an extension right within Microsoft Word, and this is our Navi sales assistant. And in a Navi sales assistant, I could go and say, okay, look, I'm looking for information on ERP consolidation. It will bring me the information. It can also tell you who the experts are. It can give you the case studies, and then at the click of a button saying insert, it all gets embedded into the document. So all our 40 years of knowledge that we had is now accessible at the fingertips for a sales colleague who could very quickly find the information. Then they could say, okay, let me take this to the client very quickly. So the turnaround time now is very, very short. So even I could, if I become very clever at using it, while I'm doing a discussion with client, I can actually look up the information and then start sharing it. The other example I'll give is in learning, for example, right? See, in learning, what happens is, you can learn only so much by studying, because a lot of time then you have to practice, and then you need to work with experts. So in our learning platform, Lex, if today I can go and try and learn, it will give me the information the way you would get in a chat GPT, but it will also tell you what are the learning paths. It will tell you who are the experts in this field that you can reach out to. And what we then do is we create these small cohorts where you can collaborate with these experts and very quickly learn. Now, all of these in a company of 330,000 people is traditionally difficult, right? Because everybody is geographically distributed. Now everything is simplified through these AI assistants and tools.
How is this changing life and one day to the next? How is it changing work or the workflow or where people do work for, say, hardcore techies in the company, a senior architect or an advanced programmer or developer?
Yeah. No, I think for the architects, or if you take experienced programmers, in our experience, what we have found is these AI assistants are helping them become even more productive than somebody with lower skill. And because, see, a lot of times when these AI assistants generate code or provide information, you need to be able to quickly review, assess whether this is all right, and then do corrections and then move forward, right? So what we have found is for somebody who's an expert developer or an expert techie, this can be used to very quickly accelerate their day-to-day tasks, which means if I'm working on a client project, so let's say I could be a specialist that is working on upgrading a database. Now I want to find out what are the things that I need to do to upgrade a database. I will get a checklist. I can very quickly review the checklist. I'll see what is relevant, not relevant, and I can go ahead and execute it, right? So what we are finding is the productivity improvement is much higher with experienced people with these AI assistants. But on the knowledge working side, and I think this is where somebody who is a little lower in the rank would find it more useful because they don't have that experience, they don't have the know-how. So a lot of knowledge will help them become more hyper productive.
You spoke about taking all that you have learned at Finacle, feeding it into an existing model, and then coming out with some new applications. So, can you give us a sense of what kind of applications you've been able to build, and the kind of impact they must be beginning to have?
Yeah, no, see, the Finacle one was for Finacle purpose.
Sure. I mean, I just took that example.
So once we figured out the approach that it works here, then what we realized is a lot of our clients also had similar problems. See, a lot of enterprises are today hesitant of sharing their core information, which is code or knowledge, to a third party. So, which means, if the knowledge has to go into a cloud, they are concerned about it. And what they want to do is they want to keep their information private and secure. So what this then means is the approach of creating these fine-tuned models is more relevant for them. Or techniques like retrieval augmentation, which is used to supplement organizational knowledge with cloud models, is becoming important. So what we are now able to do is we are very quickly able to use this information and the playbook and the know-how that we have to solve interesting problems. So for example, for one of the telcos, they had an existing application. They wanted to create a code assistant very specific to their legacy application. So we were very quickly able to do. There is a bank that is, interested in extracting knowledge out of their existing COBOL code. And then they want to use this for transformation. So we are very quickly able to use it. Now the other knowledge assistants that we have done, using this we are able to do interesting things. So for example, with one of the retailers for whom we actually manage the social analytics for them, what we were able to do is we were able to use Gen AI to quickly do tonality analysis of the customer or consumer feedback and use that in order to drive better consumer engagement and campaigns for them in a way. Similarly, if you look at in marketing area, we were able to use this to create a lot of content for product description on different digital channels, because that's a very cumbersome process. Then if I'm a global, if I operate globally, I may have to translate it into 20 different languages. So I'm able to do that much faster. So we are finding that there are almost about 9 different business areas where our clients are finding a lot of value in applying a lot of these technologies. And these 9 areas are: one is customer service, second is contact center and operations, third is in sales and marketing, fourth is business operations, fifth is IT operations, sixth is software engineering, seventh is the entire risk and compliance area, eighth is in the entire employee experience and then learning. So these are some areas where we are finding a lot of use cases of Gen AI.
You mentioned telecom example, marketing example, retail companies. Which are some of the verticals where you see the uptake of generative AI and in general enthusiasm and adoption for and of AI is strong amongst your customers?
Sure. No, if you look at it in non-regulated industries, I think the number of use cases that are happening are much higher, because obviously, they're not as regulated as a bank or an insurer company or a healthcare company, or even for that matter, the utilities. So if you take retail is a great example, manufacturing is an example. Even in financial services, we are finding they're using AI for internal purposes. With one of the banks today, we have created a GPT for themselves that all their employees today are able to use to drive personal productivity, right? We are finding this in services company, the consulting companies that are able to use this to improve their auditing processes, for example, or improve their existing consulting services that they offer to clients. We are finding this useful even in the services company, utilities company, and in automotive as well.
And can you talk about how this is changing IT services itself? What are some of the things over the last year or so that have surprised you, that have stood out, which gives you a sense of the way in which IT services is delivered or is even done changing?
Yeah, no, I think one is today the expectation from our clients is that from every IT services company is that, Gen AI as well as AI has to be embedded into the core offerings itself, which means, they're not looking at it as a separate initiative or a project, but they're saying, okay, if today you're maintaining my applications or you're building something for me, you're doing any transformation. So one, you need to bring AI in driving more productivity in higher velocity and efficiency in the current set of things. The second thing that they are looking for is how do I use AI to deliver newer business capabilities? For example, can I do forecasting better? Can I do planning better? Can I do predictive maintenance better? Can I do sales planning in a much better way? Can I improve my supply chain efficiency? So a lot of core business processes is second area where they're saying a lot of it has to happen. So now to your question of what does it mean for IT services company? I think for us this has now become like core to our business in a way, right? Because of our clients' expectations. So in everything that we do, this needs to become integral to our ways of working, and which is why we see this as a general purpose technology and not really something that is only for a specific team or so. We are saying everybody within the IT services company would have to become AI aware and they should be able to use the tools, which is one part. The second part from a services standpoint is what this also means is it will create a lot of new roles. And it will, see, there are three levels of shifts that will happen. One is certain set of tasks will get automated. These could be document-centric process roles, knowledge-centric process roles, language-centric process roles, and all that will get automated to a certain extent, which means some of these tasks, once they become automated, then we need to reskill them on different areas. Second is for some of the existing employees, the skill mix will change. Take, for example, a functional tester. Somebody who understands a domain is writing scripts to do functional testing. Now they need to understand prompt engineering because the functional test cases can be generated through these AI models, which means now I need to know how to write better prompts, which will help me generate this, and how do I test it. So now in the second category, my skill mix is changing. I also need to become AI literate. I need to know how to use these AI tools, and I also need to have these new skills. The third, we believe, as the democratization and scaling of AI will become more and more within organizations, now you will also need AI masters. Somebody who are very specialized, like, how do I create this base pre-trained model grounds up? How do I do fine-tune modeling? How do I ensure that the models are not hallucinating or it is very minimized? How do I make sure that the inferencing cost is very low, and so on and so forth. So a set of new roles will be required. So there is an element of talent transformation that is required that needs to be done. The third element for IT services company is the way we deliver projects also now needs to change, which is what we did with our evolved digital operating model, which means in everything I do, if I am going to leverage AI, then I have to evolve my methods. And fourth is, we also need to now start taking a business-centric view, which always most of the companies were doing, but then it's also about looking at what potential AI can have in reimagining the experience and processes, right? And again, that's a very different skill. Now, what are the learnings from this? So one of the key learning is, with AI, the cost of running AI today is very high, especially with large language models, right? So you need to be able to create optimized models which are of smaller footprint, which can run on less compute and memory, so that your run cost is not that high. So that's one. Second is with AI, unlike the traditional software rollout where everything will work either 100% or zero, with AI the efficiency or the output increases over a period of time. Which means when I first roll out, it may have, let's say, 70% accuracy. Slowly with fine tuning, with better improvements in the solution, I can improve it to 80, 85, 90, 95. So there is a period where you need to further improve your AI solutions for them to become effective. So this again requires a bit of a change management, right? Because the end users also need to understand that today I'm getting only this much, but tomorrow it will be much better, day after it will be even better, and maybe 6 months from now it will be able to do everything that we expect. So that is the second shift that also needs to be done to drive higher adoption.
The folks at ISG, they publish once a week or something this newsletter called What's Important in IT. And in one of the recent editions, they spoke about how literally every important company is looking at finally modernizing legacy applications, which they are only continuing to maintain because of the important data that's residing in those legacy applications. Now, because of the need to move to generative AI and AI, is that an important opportunity to help your clients modernize from existing legacy applications into something where, like you said, it's built ground up with AI in it?
So modernization has always been an important focus for us. We have a dedicated modernization offering that we use to help our clients make their legacy applications either supportable, maintainable, or in some cases move to a new architecture, new process, new experiences. Now, in my view, at least today, the AI technology is helping me maintain and manage it in a better way. Now, till we are able to reach a point where we are able to quickly enable the migration to a new architecture at a fraction of a time and cost, then only that shift will significantly happen. So today, we were already doing a lot of it with automation. Now with AI, we are able to do even more, right? And which means, I can very quickly extract knowledge out, I can forward engineer, I can analyze the data, I can help them do migration. So this in a way will help accelerate the modernization projects. But then the footprint of a lot of these applications is very high. So it will take several years. I don't think it will happen in 6 months or a year or so. So it will take at least few years for us to modernize these large legacy applications, because some of them could be having as much as 100 million lines of code.
And have you seen any significant impact of AI, and more specifically generative AI, on the transition to the cloud model?
Yeah, see, with generative AI, I would say the impact is at 2 or 3 different levels. One is obviously with the cloud transformation journey that was already going on. We are looking at how do we make some of the self-service capabilities enabled quickly through Gen AI, which means, for example, earlier you would go through a tool or a self-service catalog or a tool in order to provision anything and all that stuff. And now we are saying, can you, just like we converse, can I say, okay, provision a new VM for me here, and it automatically goes and does that, right? So we are looking at one, bringing Gen AI to enable self-service capabilities on hybrid cloud. Second is for some of the scripts that are used to operationalize the workloads on cloud. We are looking at using Gen AI to automate the generation of those scripts which are required to do it. And third, obviously, is you have to test them, which is the other area where we are looking at it. So in a way, one part of it is that migration to cloud, where most of your workloads have to move. We are looking at using Gen AI to drive that. The second is now every company also needs to have the GPU infrastructure. Because they are also experimenting with AI. Now they also need this infrastructure, which means now I need to almost create like an AI stack in every cloud infrastructure. Now, this AI stack in itself, one could be using what is available like an OpenAI APIs or from Google, Amazon, and Azure, or it could be from third party. The second is to build this native stack using likes of NVIDIA, or even for with AMD and Intel for certain workloads. So this becomes the second consideration, which means how do you create this AI infrastructure? The third then becomes the tooling that is required to operationalize AI development on cloud, and the controls that are required to be put in place to do it, right? So which is what is happening. So in short, this will accelerate the cloud transformation, but it will also build new capabilities.
So just give us a sense of, at the high level, what are the challenges, and maybe one or two sort of maybe implementation challenges, or actually using it, being able to ensure that it's reliable and things like that. What are the challenges?
Sure. So I think one big challenge is the data readiness itself for AI, right? Because even before I build my AI solution, I have to train it with my data. So one, making sure that the data, and now see, earlier data everybody had invested in, but now you have to bring a lot of user generated content, which could be documents, it could be audios, it could be videos, it could be press releases, marketing content, and all that. So how do you bring all of that together in a way that you can then use it to train the models or to fine tune? That process is not there in a lot of organizations. So first you need to build the foundation that is required in order to manage all of this data, one from a normalization and bringing all of it together. Second is from consumption, and third is from democratizing tomorrow to make it available to the AI builders within the company. So that is the first step, which is a challenge. The second is responsible AI, which you already talked about. The third challenge is the talent availability as well. Because see, if you look at the pace at which the AI explosion has happened in the last 1 year, a lot of developments have happened in a very short span of time. Now, expertise on these large language models is also limited. So everybody doesn't have experts in this space. So having the right talent and right expertise who understand what works, what doesn't work is the bigger problem as well, which is where a lot of our clients are looking at co-innovation model, right, where they can work with somebody and create. The fourth challenge in a way is to create right business cases or AI use cases that will have an impact on top line or bottom line. Because eventually, the leader of the organization, a CEO or the board, is looking and saying, how will this impact my top line or bottom line? And that cannot happen by taking a use case based approach. If I just say, okay, let me take these 10 use cases, I will do, it will not make a difference. So what we are finding is building the right value based use cases using strategic value chain analysis. So we are saying, look at an end-to-end process, look at all the areas that AI could have an impact. Then the compounding effect of it is what can have a higher business impact or value, and building that business case. That becomes an important element. The fifth, in a way, I wouldn't say hindrance, but something to think about is how do you scale this? See, because in most enterprises, if I've got 300,000 users who are going to use any of these AI services globally, then you have to make sure that the AI models can scale. They can support so much of workload, they can support so much of throughput. Now, if you're using a cloud-based provider, then the cloud-based provider will take care, but you still need to make sure that there is enough capacity and infrastructure. But if you're deploying internally, then you have to do a lot of groundwork that is required to make it happen. So that again is important. Otherwise, the scaling will become a problem and it will lead to poor user experience, and the adoption will go down, is what we've seen.
How has your own life changed over the last couple of years? I mean, life as CTO and boss of strategic technology group. What are your, what are you very excited about, and what keeps you up at night?
No, I think given the pace at which the technology has changed, the life has become very hectic. Let me put it this way. Because, we are trying to do this at two levels, right? One, we are trying to do this change at Infosys, and then we are also trying to apply it to our customers. So 5 years back, we started with this whole initiative to make Infosys digital first, cloud first, and data first. Now we are doing AI first. So I think life has been very busy, very hectic, but it is also exciting to see how a lot of this technology is making a difference at our clients. It is helping them either transform their business or accomplish the goals that they have. So in that way, I think it's almost like you're on a treadmill constantly and you're running. So which is with the way it is today. Now, what keeps me at night, I think I wouldn't say anything specific, but there are two, three things that I worry about. One is to make sure that everything is being done in a responsible by design manner, which means a lot of it is not an afterthought. And we are thinking about these things upfront and making sure that these are being done right. Second is this is also a significant change. So ensuring that everybody is able to embrace the change and imbibe into their ways of working would be the key thing. Because if that doesn't happen, then everything else in a way will not work out successfully.